Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Seth Matlins, the managing director of the Forbes CMO Network. Seth, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me, Brittany.
Of course, the iconic Twitter bird is now a white X on a black background, and the Twitter bio says what's happening. Seth, can you break it down for us? What is happening in terms of Twitter and branding?
Well, I can tell you what's happening. I'm a little hard pressed to tell you why it's happening. But what's happening is that Elon, in his infinite marketing wisdom, has decided, and we've seen word of this coming, and I'll actually get back to that in a minute, decided that Twitter and its iconic bird will be no more, and that henceforth this will be known as X.
And something that you said that's just stuck out to me is you don't know why it's happening. When it comes to marketing, does there always need to be a why?
But there better be a why, because otherwise it's without reason. And I think that's not just for marketing, but any action. Now, what we do know, and I saw a really interesting, and I'm going to use the old vernacular, Brittany, series of tweets from Walter Isaacson over the weekend. You may know that Walter is the great biographer, and he's been doing a biography and following Elon for years now. And he pointed out over the weekend in a series of tweets that this has been part of Elon's plan since before he owned Twitter and from the moment he owned Twitter. X was what he, in fact, if I remember correctly, wanted PayPal to be known as. It's not a coincidence that we have SpaceX. I think when he took the Twitter flag off their San Francisco headquarters, he replaced it with an X. So this isn't whimsical, but it does seem to reflect that for Elon, it is always about what Elon wants and what Elon thinks, as opposed to anything that might have a better rhyme or strategic reason from a marketing perspective.
Despite you saying that this has been on his mind for a while, I mean, it did seem sort of slapdash. It seemed a little not calculated opening Twitter, seeing the X on there. Do you think that this rebranding will help or hurt? Because the Twitter bird is just an iconic logo.
Yeah, look, I think probably it's not going to hurt, but let me qualify that. It's not going to hurt because the network effects of Twitter make switching costs extraordinary, right? So for those who don't know, network effects suggest that a product or service gets better the more people that are using it. And what's always been great about Twitter, putting aside fascism, nationalism, hate, etc., is that you can find a community of people. You can find many communities of people, and people have spent years building community on this platform. And so I think that if the product remains, or not remains good, because there's real challenges with the product, it has only gotten worse since Elon has taken ownership. Switching costs, I think, however, that from a help perspective, it's definitely not going to help, right? And I think that the slapdash timing of this is super curious right after Threads launches, right? Which is, he should have given Threads a moment in time to lose an audience. But what he's done, I think, is just another reason to say enough with this guy, I'm out. And my feed is in fact full of people who are like, last tweet, see you, goodbye. Is that going to happen at scale? I don't think it will. I don't think this is reason enough, but it is another reason to just spend more time on Threads for a lot of people, in my opinion.
Something that was trending on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it now was the phrase New Coke. And this is what the History Channel said about New Coke. Coca-Cola's disastrous attempt at rebranding Coke in 1985 delivered a painful lesson. Don't mess with the classic. Do you agree? Do you think that's what's happening here, where Elon messed with a new classic?
No, I think the History Channel doesn't understand what happened with New Coke. In fact, New Coke wasn't just a rebrand, it was a new product. It was a new brand, not a rebrand. The formulation changed, the product inside the can changed. So the New Coke analogs fall flat super quickly. Not to mention that even in that context, they were still maintaining the core equity of Coke, right? They weren't getting rid of it. Not to mention that the Coca-Cola company, back when they launched New Coke, learned from their mistakes, went into that, by the way, with months, if not years of research, right? Now, the research proved to be faulty. The research was flawed, but there was nothing capricious or slapdash, again, to use the phrase, about it. And it was a new product, and this is the old product in a new bottle. And it's just, putting aside the visual identity here, the brand identity is just an atrocity of simplicity. And I in fact think I saw somebody tweeting earlier, that it's some modification of a generic tech logo. Right? I mean, it's just been horribly executed because there is no reason why except that Elon wanted to do it.
You said that Coke put years of research into their rebrand, but that shows that they do care about the brand, care about the product. Do you think there's any indication here that Elon Musk cares about Twitter, cares about what the user experiences, or just cares what he simply wants to do?
Evidence suggests that he pretty much just cares about what he wants to do. And evidence also suggests that when Elon does something, it tends to do well on balance, right? Hard to bet against Elon even in these moments. But it is also hard to say that he certainly did not value the core brand equity of what he acquired for $44 billion. He certainly does not advertisers. He certainly does not seem to value his core users. And I think that it would be hard to see this as anything but another example of extraordinary arrogance wrapped in a bit of marketing, more than a bit of marketing ignorance. But, as I say, it's hard to bet against him, but the product is unchanged, and the product needs to change, or they will continue to leak advertisers, which is their principal source of revenue, and leak users.
Marketing ignorance, that doesn't sound good. Do you think this will be taught in business classes in the future as, hey, maybe don't do this?
I mean, maybe, who knows? It's kind of like, what are you going to say except maybe don't do this, right? Like, it's not a course. It's not a curriculum. It's just an obvious flashing red light, which is, don't be dumb.
I like that. Short but sweet advice. I love that. Seth, we're only in the beginning days of X here. Do you have any predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it really matters less what it's called in this moment. There continues to alienate people, whether Threads product gets better, whether the network effects on Threads become more beneficial to the community, whether people find and create community on Threads, and when advertisers are given reason to return to that formerly known as Twitter, which is Linda Yaccarino's huge job. And when we talk about how slapdash this is typically the type of announcement a chief executive would make, not the owner. And that Linda wasn't given the opportunity to make this announcement, but to second it also signals certainly that she's in for a ride.
Sounds like that's a major red flag. Any other major red flags that are sticking out to you that we haven't talked about yet?
No, I don't think so. I think Elon's going to Elon, and I think this is completely consistent with everything he's done and, in fact, not done since he got there and since, early in his career, right? And I think that he understands network effects a whole lot better than I do. He is a genius. He is brilliant. What he's done, I saw Galloway post something today that's like, one person has one of the greatest, most accretive brands in the world in Tesla and destroyed value in another in Twitter. You don't get to do both those things. So, it's not quite a hat trick, but it's quite a trick.
Seth Matlins, thank you for your insights.
Thanks for having me.